Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to New Gard City here on City Skylines. It has been a long time since I last made a video in this series. I do apologise for that. There's been a number of reasons why that's been the case. First of all, I did want to take a little bit of a break from City Skylines. Nothing to do so much with the series, but more the game. It's been playing up a lot recently, taking a long time to load save files, and just running really slowly in general. So it's been a little bit frustrating, but we are back now. Some of the things that I have done in today's episode might be changing in the not too distant future. I haven't fully decided on that yet, but I mean, yeah, some little tweaks here and there. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. The other reason it's been a while is because the footage I did have recorded here, there's two parts to this video. You'll see parts 1 and 2 today. There was supposed to be a part 3, maybe even a part 4, but unfortunately, again, because the game was playing up and not quite working as expected, I decided to sort of postpone those for a little bit, maybe do them next week or the week after, whenever it might be. I'm not sure if this is going to be a weekly series from now on, to be honest, because as I said, the game is playing up a little bit more now. I could go through, spend hours getting rid of some assets, or I could just accept the fact that it's getting worse, not add any new assets to the game, and just try and make the most of what I've got. I'm leaning more towards the latter, in all honesty, because this is nothing to do with the game, by the way. This is Steam Workshop that I have a problem with here. It is an absolute nightmare trying to get rid of assets that you've downloaded, because there's no like search bar that you can go through and say, hey, can I get rid of this asset, please? You have to literally go into the workshop, and then the game that, whichever the, you know, in this case City Skylines, but in the past I've done things like Planet Coaster as well, and then you can go through to items I've subscribed to, and then it just gives you a list, and it's like page 1 of 6 million, and you have to try and find the particular asset that you're looking to remove. You can get into the workshop pages from the game direct, so if I find an asset, there is an option to just go into the workshop there, but I don't really want to do that, because A, it sometimes crashes the game, and B, it's still not that convenient. It would be a lot easier if there was just a way to, you know, immediately unsubscribe from something whilst the game's loaded, rather than having to go into the workshop and do it that way. I mean, you know, I'm really nitpicking here to try and find some things to complain about, but at the same time, it's not game breaking, but it's series breaking, I suppose is the best way of saying it. It's making it harder and harder to actually make videos when the game is not exactly behaving itself, should we say. Anyway, I'm not going to moan too much about that. I want to talk about what's on the screen right now. So the first thing you saw me build in this video is a new commercial area of the city, and I literally mean commercial area of the city. There's a very nice place in Brighton called, do you know what, I've actually forgot. I think it's called the Narrows is what I wanted to say, but I don't think is it the Alley? Something like that. Hang on. Brighton shopping. It's really awkward. I had it in my head a minute ago, and I completely forgot what it's called. Street. Oops. Shopping streets. It'll come to me. I'm sure it'll come to me. But yeah, so it's very nice. Oh, the lanes. There we go. It's the lanes. I knew it was something like, you know, bowling alley, bowling lane. There we go. Anyway, Brighton has a really nice place called the Lanes, which is kind of like high-end boutique shops. It's not somewhere I've frequented very often myself, but I've heard good reports about it from people I know who do enjoy shopping. And our city didn't really have that, New Gard City, and we had this big open space of land in what's meant to be our city centre. And it's right next to Gard Square railway station. So I thought, why not put 2 and 2 together and come up with our own little shopping district. So currently it's part of, I believe it's part of South Bank, but I will make it its own area now. But the idea is, it's built on what was formerly the goods yard of Gard City. So every major railway station in the UK had a goods yard built next to it at some point. King's Cross, for example, what used to be the goods yard is now, in fact some of the buildings are still there, but it's kind of like a little like office space type area. And I believe YouTube's the YouTube space in London is right next to King's Cross Station, which I only found out when I was in St Pancras and I looked out the window one day. Suddenly saw a big YouTube logo staring back at me. But yeah, every single major railway station in the UK does have a former goods yard next to it. Most of them have been repurposed. Some are now car parks. Others have been built on, you know, the shopping centres or supermarkets, whatever it might be. You can always tell where there used to be one because there's now like big plot of open land, which is a car park or something similar. Sometimes it's even used as a car park for the station itself, and then there'll be like new builds on top. And it's awesome. I like it. I think it's cool that we are reusing the land. Don't get me wrong. However, I wish there were more examples of what they used to look like, because that would be very handy for what I'm doing here. Because the new shopping area that I've built is what used to be the goods yard of Gard Square. And that's why it's right next to the railway station. It's also why it makes a little bit more sense. I kind of want to give it a railway-ish type name, but I'm welcome to suggestions in the comments. If you guys have some good suggestions for what we should call it, feel free to comment down below. And that leads very nicely into sort of the second half of this first part of the video here. So the first bit was building the new shopping area, which hasn't sprung up yet. As you can see, I have next to no commercial demand and very high residential demand. So future episodes will involve building new residential districts, particularly around the Gardcity orbital. I have got plans for a new residential area there. I was going to say something else then, I can't remember what it was. It's from the trade school heading south across the motorway there. That's where it's going to be built. But I was going to build something else over... Oh, a zoo. That was one of the other things I was looking at doing. So we've got Gloucester Gardens, which is kind of a nature reserve, but it's not got any animals. So I was thinking of taking the zoo idea and actually moving it to the south side of the city. And again, it gives people a reason to actually travel over that way. But once we flood the city with residential again, one thing that will do is encourage growth for commercial and industrial. And the industrial I'm not too fussed about right now, because Gardcity Gateway is getting redone anyway, so that's no problem. But the commercial is something I really would like to see start growing again soon. So particularly with this new shopping district, so we'll have to work on that. Yeah, right now you're seeing me build the two new lines coming out of Gard Square. Originally I was going to rebuild Gard Square Station and fix it that way. I was going to use Berlin Hauptbahnhof to create the new central station. But I am kind of more in line with the idea of keeping this this existing European station. One of the reasons I wanted to change it, I think I mentioned this in an open TTD stream or something. I can't actually remember now. But one of the reasons I wanted to change it is because there's I've had some problems with outside rail traffic not using the station correctly, or at all for that matter. And I'm not really sure why that is, because I did read that the station was bugged, but then that was fixed like a year ago. So maybe it's not been updated properly for Metro overhaul. Speaking of Metro, the Metro platforms underneath aren't that good. So whatever happens, I will replace the station with a single Metro platform, and then I'll build a new Metro station, or underground I should say, a new underground station elsewhere in Gard Square, and have that be the major interchange. So it will be an out-of-station interchange, as it were, but then I suppose King's Cross St Pancras technically is as well, because you have to go through two gate lines to get from one to the other. So it kind of makes sense. You know, it kind of makes sense. I'm not too upset by that. The bridge assets that I'm using here, you see me demolishing these car parks, which I never really liked, so I was kind of glad to see those go. But these bridge assets I'm using here, I really don't like them, actually. You might have seen where the girder bridge turned into the brick viaducts that I'm using here. You have that thing where you just forget every word in the English language. Apparently that's me today. Yeah, where the two bridges converge and one leads into the other, it makes this really weird hole in the ground, which I absolutely despise, and I have no idea how to fix that. So that's probably going to get replaced, as in all of this is going to get replaced. And because I'm trying to trim assets anyway, trimming down a lot of the rail assets I think will be a big help for making the game run a little bit smoother again. So these are probably going to be the ones that get replaced, maybe with just generic track with customized catenary, or just find something else on the workshop that does the job and then remove all the other types of rail line. I don't know yet. I don't know off the top of my head. I do quite like the one that we've got coming out of the station. I think that looks kind of cool. That would work as well. I think that would work quite well, because you still get that elevated railway effect without the brick arches. And I do like the brick arches, but the ones here especially, you can see how much of a nightmare they are to actually build, because you have to put them in place, then you have to lift the track up or lower it down or shift it to the side like I'm doing here to make the arches actually fit over the roads. Plus you can't actually build them without using Anarchy, because there's something not quite right there. It doesn't treat it as a bridge, it treats it like a solid object. And yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare. It is a bit of a nightmare. So swapping these out is probably for the best, actually. And I won't be too upset to see them go. I like the aesthetics of them, but the actual logistics of building them is just such a nightmare. And yeah, I say that a lot, I know, but it really is an absolute nightmare. And trying to get it to fit with this this design that I'm building here, like trying to get it to go over this road. I do actually move the roads a little bit more to make them feel a bit more roundabout-like, rather than these current like square edges. Now that I'm a little bit more comfortable using Move It, I have started experimenting some more with roundabout approaches and things like that, trying to make it look a little bit more realistic, as it were. Plus, building the magic roundabout a few episodes ago, that kind of helped me a fair bit, actually, with actually building roundabouts and being a bit more confident with using the roundabout tools, making the roads look a little bit more realistic. And I'd like to say it worked. I'd say it also isn't really for me to say, of course, but in my opinion, it's worked. But it depends what you guys, what you guys in the comments think. And speaking of the comments, I'm kind of getting to the stage now where it will just be me building a lot of residential stuff for the next few episodes. So I can either do it as one big episode in the time lapse, or we can kind of split it up a little bit more. Because whatever happens, I want you guys as viewers to be more involved in the decision-making process, as it were. So names of districts, types of housing, whether we go for different types of architecture, or whether we try and keep it relatively constant. I really want a lot more comments, a lot more people getting involved. This is it's the series that seems to be most in demand, this one, but the one that's least viewed, if that makes sense. So I'd kind of like to get this to be a bit more active again, like it used to be. Maybe streaming would be a solution to that, but with the way my PC is at the moment and the way the game is, I don't think streams would work anymore. Not on this save anyway, and I don't particularly want to start a new one just to make the game work, because that sort of defeats the object. So yeah, getting people to be more active in the comments and also on Discord and Reddit, I think that's the solution to the problem, really. But yeah, let me know what you guys think as to what kind of things you want to see in the city from now on. It doesn't have to be specific things, you don't have to say a theme park, a zoo, or anything like that, but any themes. So if you want a Dutch themed area, or a French themed area, or a German themed area, or if you want high rises, low rises, suburban areas, whatever it might be, feel free to comment down below with the suggestions. Pretty much all of them, I would say, would be taken forward and actually used, because I really do want to have as much variety in here as possible. And sort of while we're in this view here, actually, I'll talk about a couple of other ideas that I've had that I've just reminded myself of looking at this view. So you'll see me place a couple of stations down in a second. One around about this area here, which will be used on one track. In fact, I think it goes right next to this tram stop, which then justifies the existence of this tram stop. There it goes. And the other one is an old style. I think it's based on the S-Bahn in Berlin. Oh, this is me. Yeah, this is me making a right hash of this. I thought I'd placed it perfectly, and then I realised that there's these big pillars through the middle, which I probably could use procedural objects to remove. But considering it holds the station up, I felt it was probably smarter just to have the station off to one side. Maybe have a road sort of snake its way underneath. We'll see about that. But yeah, the other station, in fact, this is the one here, I believe, goes into Barnwell. And I kind of liked the... I don't want to sound like an architecture student here, because I really am not. But I kind of liked the juxtaposition here between the old style station and the fact that Barnwell is kind of like the tech paradise of New Gardcity. So it's got all the high-tech housing and environmentally friendly housing. You can kind of say it's the hipster's paradise in that respect, because it's an old station and an old district that's been given a new lease of life. Which I like that. I think a lot more cities are starting to do that now with regeneration, and I think that's a really cool thing. I'm certainly for the idea. I might sound like I'm against it sometimes, but I'm definitely for it overall. Yes, watching the cars rearrange themselves. New Gardcity. This is New Gardcity. Gard Square. The rounded edges here Currently they're 90-degree edges, but I think I will actually make them a little bit more rounded and a little bit nicer to look at, because right now, plus the speed limits are bad. You can see how vehicles are getting caught up here. There's also a lot of vehicles queuing up for the cruise terminal at the moment, and I think the solution to that problem is to stop cars from accessing that road and just have it for public transport and things like that. Speaking of the cruise terminal, this is the second part. In fact, this was me starting to try and fix the problem with the traffic, because I'd noticed it was a thing, and I thought one of the solutions would perhaps be to build a new road here and also rebuild the area around where the jetties are and make it one way. Now that I've got the, is it Touch This mod? I think it's called, where you can detach roads from buildings. So in this case, you can detach the road from the cruise terminal, you can detach the road from the ferry jetties, and I wanted to do that to create a one-way system around here. So right now you can see there the cruise terminal is dumping people out onto that road. The idea is to make a one-way system, so you'll enter Gard Square. This is still technically Gard Square, although I think I might rename, I mean the roads themselves are called Gard Square. I'll see about renaming those, maybe call it like Jetty Square or something like that, because Gard Square really is the big roundabout. Even though these are Gard Square ferry terminals and jetties and such, I didn't want it to share a name, like the actual road, I didn't want it to share a name. Anyway, that's irrelevant. It is now a complete one-way system, so you drive down these tree-lined one-way streets, which are very pretty, very nice to look at, and the idea is just to control traffic flow a little bit better. I think I also made most of it inaccessible to private vehicles, so it's, you know, buses, taxis, and emergency vehicles and trash vehicles, I think, are the only ones that actually have access to all of this. The rest are all forbidden, and that was, I mean, that you don't really need me to tell you why that is. It's just to stop private cars from clogging up the road for crucial vehicles trying to get through. This Christmas market as well, I'm really tempted to get rid of, because hearing jingle bells in my ear all the time when I'm trying to build is annoying as is. But at the same time, I liked the idea of having a Christmas market, but you know, it's August right now and there's no point in having one. Like, really no point in having one. So I think I will be removing that and perhaps replacing it with the observation tower that we placed last episode, and maybe a couple of other little things here and there. Even the metro station, actually, the underground station, could end up being built over here. So it's literally on the opposite side to the station. People will walk quite happily between the two. They won't complain about that, so there's no issue there. And then, yeah, doing some lane markings. This is something... I always talk about it as if I hate doing it, but I really don't. It's not my favourite thing to do by any stretch, but I don't hate doing it as such. It's more just... it's a bit like with OpenTTD when I'm doing signals. I don't mind doing it. I find it quite enjoyable, but I always have this conscious feeling of, do you guys enjoy watching it? And more often than not, the answer is probably not. So it's something that I try to avoid doing as much as possible, all the boring stuff, or at least save it for you know, special videos, that kind of thing. But again, let me know in the comments, do you like watching that kind of thing? I know some people don't like doing it necessarily, but they like watching it. So we're all weird and wonderful in our own unique ways. So if that's your kind of thing, then let me know, and I'll keep including it in the series. We're also doing some major road remodeling around this area as well. So we're taking some of the service buildings here and moving them from one side of the road to the other. We're removing some streets as well. Some of them do get put back in a little bit later on. The idea mostly right now is just to try and get some of the lesser roads out of the way so that the rail can come through, and then the road will get rebuilt around the rail, which is kind of what I did a long time ago now, actually, when I placed the rails in that head down towards what is currently Subscriber Island but will soon be renamed. Actually, that was one other thing, yes, that I did want to talk about. Subscriber Island is going to get changed. Right now, it's way too big. It was meant to be one house per subscriber, and I think it has like 10,000 houses on the island, maybe slightly less than that, but I'm sure it's got more than 1,000, which is what it's meant to have. So Subscriber Island is going to get replaced. The actual district that's currently there with all the buildings, they're going to remain. The named buildings that are there, I'm going to have to try and find them again, because that was another problem, was trying to remember which ones had already been named. they're going to get just demolished and rebuilt automatically as normal houses again, and then new buildings that will be springing up on the new subscriber island will then get renamed again in honor of those who elected to have that. I am still considering doing a Patreon island as well with Patreon supporters. There will be some duplicates there, of course, because patrons are normally subscribers as well. If you do want to get your name on that island, you know what to do. Link is in the description down below. There are other Patreon tier rewards as well that are currently available. There's an interchange that will be built in the not too distant future that will carry a new name in honor of a Patreon tier reward. And I believe there are areas of the city as well which will be named as part of that. I need to double check. I do have it written down, so no fear there. But yeah, I do need to check because it's been a while and I've kind of forgotten. This area here, I mean, it all looks very blank and very empty right now, but I'm actually quite optimistic that this part of the city will look quite nice when it's done. Right now we have these big avenues with the trams running through the middle. Something that I saw on the Reddit earlier today, in fact, was a very, very nice avenue that someone had built, where it had service roads down the sides. So this is quite prominent in the UK as well, but mostly in sort of big towns and cities. You'll have like a main thoroughfare, like 2 lanes in each direction, and then you'll have like little side streets where parking is and where the actual buildings are and things like that. So, excuse me, Somerset Avenue, that roundabout there that you can see in the bottom left corner of the screen right now, that's going to get replaced. That's going to get rebuilt with something a little bit nicer and a little bit more functional, shall we say. And some of the other like junctions and things like that and the avenues themselves are going to get replaced. What I'm thinking of doing for the road that you can see running across the middle of the screen there, where the tram is, I'm thinking of actually having the tram as its own road down the middle, and then lanes either side of that. And the cool thing is, you saw me using it earlier, is the I think it's called the multi-lane tool. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's actually called. Basically, you can build roads next to each other in parallel road tool. I think that's what it's called. You could build roads in parallel to each other, and you can do it with road, rail, all sorts. So the idea really for that now is to use that tool to have a tramway and then 2 one-way roads either side of it, and that will be the new avenue. Because right now, as much as I love these tree-lined avenues, I don't really like the fact that the tram track shares a lane with the road. I would have liked it if the trams were in the middle, then roads, and then the bike lanes, because the bike lanes are also really cool. And I think I might even have bike lanes running separately if I can, or maybe have the one-way roads with bike lanes in, because I think that's an asset that I've got, and then have the tram running through the middle separate from the rest of it. I think that would work a lot better, actually, now I've said it out loud, so I might end up doing that instead. But the idea is to try and segregate the tram from the rest of the road, and try and make it a little bit more functional that way. So yeah, right now just lifting this set of tracks up a little bit more so that the road can run a little bit nicer underneath. Some of these side roads you can see coming off here. Somerset Avenue, by the way, is also going to get rebuilt with service roads either side, because I might put some buildings along there now. Seems a bit dumb to not have buildings along there. So I think, yeah, that'll be a thing. And the little side roads that come off of that will be, I think, probably just cars and emergency vehicles only, not even trash vehicles. I think they'll use the main road because the vehicles are too tall really to get onto some of these bridges. They're not all short bridges. Some of them are regular height, but I mean, even the one there, the little suburban road here that I'm working on, the bridge is just not tall enough for big vehicles to get underneath. So we'd have to create diversion routes for that for it to work. The rail line that I'm building here, this is the one that's then going to bridge up and over the motorway and enter the new southern part of the city once that's built. The fact that we've got this station now in Barnwell, I'm quite happy with. We have got an underground station, I believe, in Barnwell, or if we haven't, we will do shortly, because I will be redoing, if I'm building a brand new underground hub in Gard Square, which I am, because I've already decided I am, I'm going to redo most of the underground system again. So some of the pretty much all of the stations that currently exist will be remaining as they are, but new ones will be built in and around the new areas of the city that we've been working on. And in fact, a couple of episodes ago when we built the Magic Roundabout, and I built that metro hub there, underground hub there, that might even be the one that gets renamed as part of Patreon. I need to talk to the individual about that and see if they're happy with that or not. But that was kind of the inspiration for wanting to redo the underground system, was building that hub and realizing that the current system just wouldn't serve it very well. So yeah, right now it's all about making that a little bit better and a little bit more functional, because that'd be very nice indeed. Speed limits, this is something I didn't really have to do in this video, but I decided why not. Some crossovers will get added in as well on this new set of lines that have been built here, because right now there's no crossovers between here. Actually, I think I might have been thinking about this at the time. I was almost tempted to build some crossovers, then I thought actually there's no point, because directly after Gard Square there's crossovers anyway, so I think it might end up not getting built, because the ones in the east of the city, they were built first, and then the ones at Gard Square were built. So they kind of made the original ones redundant at that point. But yeah, you can see what I mean about these arches as well. When you use Move It, I would have thought what would happen was it would resize the arches according to how long the stretch of road is, but it doesn't do that. It scrunches it up, or it stretches it right out, and it looks bloody awful. So I'm really not a fan of that. Not a fan at all. And even here, like because I used Anarchy to build these, I then am placing buildings inside the arches, which I also really didn't want to do. And I know that, you know, in London, South London especially, some of the elevated railways there, they do have businesses that rent out the arches for storage space and whatnot. And it was tempting to kind of try and replicate that here, but not with this bridge type. It would not work with this bridge type at all. And I mean, even here, trying to get this all to be on the same level. I'm sure there used to be a mod where you would just choose some nodes and hit a single button, and it would like make everything be on the same slope. That doesn't seem to exist anymore, and I'm not sure why. But yeah, all these rail bits here are going to get replaced. The actual permanent way, the direction that it goes in, that's all going to stay as is. But the type of track is going to be replaced, because I'm really not a fan. And also the tram here, you see where the tram goes over the metro and the suburban railway. That's going to get changed as well, because I'm really not a fan of that. I wanted to add like another set of parks here. What I didn't want was to, because we've got Gronley there, which is technically meant to be a park, but it's not an actual park, because we've got Bedford Park, I think we just called it, which is just below where I am now. But I wanted to have some more parks here to try and raise the land value a little bit. So we've got the new rail yard shopping district just on the left hand side of the screen. We've got South Bank Leisure Centre just to the bottom left corner of the screen as well. And then we've got Gronley, and then the Gronley Park area with the underground tram stop in the sort of the right hand side of the screen there. So I thought, why not put something a little nice here to actually give people an incentive to come and visit. And it looks really nice. I might put some fences around it and stuff. But, you know, we've got a botanical garden, we've got some plazas, we've got a nice little walkway, some fountains. I think it looks very pretty. And in fact, I do give it a name, which you'll see here. And make it its own little district, just so that it's named. I don't have any particular policies or anything here that separates it from the rest of the city, but just so it has a nice name, I thought I'd make it its own little area. And I can't remember what I called it. I might have just called it Gronley Park. Oh, Southville Square. But that might change. That might change. I think that's because it's right near South Bank, so Southville. But Southville sounds a bit North American for me, and this is a British city, so that might change that. Not that I've got anything against that, by the way, not at all. But it makes more sense to make it more of a British style name. Popping these buildings back in now. I did like the idea of the rail line snaking through these buildings. I really liked the idea of actually trying to find a building that the rail line could go through rather than around. But in the end, I just decided, you know what, I'll just leave it as is for now. These could change in the future. I just whacked my microphone there. Apologies for that. These could change in the future. The chances are that I might find some better buildings on the workshop that fit in with this area a little bit more. Who knows? Plus the idea of, again, making Gard Square into more of a roundabout than a square shape might help with this. But having the buildings on the sides of Gard Square right now, it doesn't really work for me. So to be able to move those would be nice. And also to move Somerset Avenue and use that as a building plot, that would also be kind of cool. I think that would work a lot better. Placing down some service buildings here. I think I placed one there, and then I realised that probably isn't the best place for it. So I think I either move it now or I moved it off camera. I can't remember exactly what I did. If I haven't, I will, because it really doesn't suit being built there. And then, yeah, you can see these high-rise buildings. They just don't really fit. Considering there's a city park there as well, they just don't really fit. So I think I might make some smaller buildings on the square itself, and then larger buildings around it. And I think that would work a little bit better. Anyway, that's it for this episode, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And, of course, if you enjoyed the series, drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, I will see you soon.